This video is going to show you how to present your raw data, how to process your data so that you're able to analyze your data. Okay, so as you can see on the ISMG, to get 5 or 6, you need to have correct and relevant processing of data. So you need to show all the steps, you need to have units, and you need to be processing your data so that you can answer your research question. Your tables need to be correctly formatted, so you need to have headings, you need to have units, you need to have an appropriate layout, and you need to have appropriate graphs. So you need to have the right kind of graph with titled, labelled axes, units, and you need to have a line of best fit drawn correctly. Alright, so we just go to the table to begin with. So your raw data should be in just a normal table. You should have a table number and a heading for that table. You're going to have your independent variable. So these could be your concentrations, these could be your agitation levels, these could be your temperatures. Then your dependent variable should be time. So you should have 3 trials and you'll put your data in here. Now it's really important that you include uncertainty and units in your table. So if this was concentration, the units are going to be moles, molar, so big capital M there. But we're not going to use uncertainty for concentration because we're not really sure exactly how Mrs. Hocking diluted the chemicals or mixed them up, so we can't really fill that uncertainty in there correctly. But if you had temperature as your independent variable, the thing you changed, you certainly can have uncertainty because you'll be able to get that off the thermometer. So remember, uncertainty, like a measurement uncertainty, if it's an analog device, like an analog thermometer, it should be half of the smallest increment on the thermometer. So 0.5 degrees Celsius or 1 degree Celsius, depending on what kind of thermometer you used. And if agitation was over here, you won't have uncertainty either. It'd be like plus or minus a notch or something, so we won't worry about that. The dependent variable, so for most people that's going to be time, so we should measure time in seconds, and our uncertainty is going to depend on the stopwatch. So you should have looked at your stopwatch and seen how precise it could be, and you need to go, because it's a digital stopwatch, it should be plus or minus whatever the lowest number was. So it's probably going to be 0.01 seconds, but you should check your stopwatch just to be sure, check your data to be sure. So fill all of these in, make sure these all are in the same unit. So if you're using time, don't have like 1 minute and 20 seconds. 1 minute and 20 seconds should be written as 80 seconds. Alright, and then over here you're going to have your average. So where you've got your 3 trials, if you average them out and you put your answer over here, don't include any values that are deemed outliers. So when I put these data in here as an example, I've said 55, 60 and then 95. Obviously 95 is much different to 55 and 60, so I've highlighted it in green, and then underneath here I've written values shaded in green were deemed outliers and not included in calculating the average. So then I didn't include it in my average calculation over here. Okay, so that's the raw data. Then your processed data, you're going to have to do a calculation, a graph. So I've got my data here. So I've got temperature and time, and notice all my times are in seconds. So to draw the graph, all you need to do is highlight all of your data. So don't include the headings and make sure there are no units actually in the cells with the numbers. Okay, otherwise it's not going to work. You go insert, and you're going to go, well, I tend to go recommended charts, but didn't work this time. So go all charts, XY scatter, and then have a look at the different options that you've got here. And you want the one, like I want the one with temperature on my x-axis written out properly. So that's this one. So down the bottom here, see how this one's got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whereas this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to choose this one and then go OK. Alright, so my data's there. Alright, now I know that I need to have axes titles, so I'm going to click them so they come up. Okay, and then you can fill in your own titles, making sure that you include the units in all of those as well. Now, if you click on one of your points and you right click, you can go add trend line. And then what I want you to do is make sure you've got display R squared value on chart selected. Now down here we've got our R squared value. Now there are all these different types of trend lines that you can include. And what you want to get on there is you want to get the one that's closest to 1. So if we have a look, the numbers keep changing. So that one's 0.8363, this one's 0.92, this one's 0.98, so I think it's probably the best. Oh no, this one's 0.99. Okay, so once you've got that on there, and if you end up with another random trend line like I have here, just click on it, and you should be able to delete it. I don't know what's... Oh, there we go. So I just hit backspace and I got rid of it. Okay, so now I've got my trend line, I've got my R squared value, and it should end up looking something like this. Okay, so then what you do, once you've got your graph all drawn, you put it in your report. Make sure you give it a number and a heading as well. You need to make sure it's got titles, axis titles, got a trend line. You don't want a dot to dot. You want a nice trend line through there. You want your R squared value to be as close to 1 as possible so you can see the relationship. And that's exactly what the equation of your line shows, is the relationship between your two variables. One thing I did forget to say before doing your graph, you should have an example calculation. So any calculations that you did, you should include one example so that we know what procedure you used. And so if the only calculation you're doing is calculating the average, just include one, just for the first row of your data is fine, just so that we can make sure that you've done it correctly.